What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Tonight I am doing something that a lot of you have asked me to do, and it's a little review video over this game skinner that I built, and it ended up working out awesome. My dad helped me quite a bit on it, and we knocked it out in about, like I'd say probably half a day with all the welding and paint and everything, and it was very, very simple and very easy to build. And I want to tell you guys about how it's built, what it's made out of, how I did it, the whole shebang, and I'll show you the different things that I did to make this thing very mobile, very lightweight, quick, and easy to load, unload, set up, clean your animals. You can use this thing out in the field. You can use this thing in your front yard just like I'm doing right now. I've cleaned multiple deer and even some hogs right here in my driveway, and it works awesome. I think you guys will really enjoy this one, and y'all can build something exactly like it. Y'all can build something similar and maybe change it up a little bit if you don't like the design. There's 100 different ways you can build these things, and I've seen so many different designs, and this one I felt like was just really the way to go for me. So the way I built it is a two-piece system, and I'll show you guys here in just a second, but this thing breaks down into two pieces, obviously, and it is very easy to move and use out in the field and carry it with me. And with all that being said, I built this thing out of some lightweight 2-inch square tubing, and it doesn't have to be the thick-walled stuff. This is very light gauge square tubing, and it works great. I mean, for the way that I built it and for how much money I spent on it, it works awesome. So with that being said, let's jump into this. I want to show you guys all the ins and outs and the little things that I did to make this as hands-free and as easy as I possibly could. The way that I built it, I basically built it to take all of the hard work out of cleaning and skinning an animal. And this thing works out great for like skinning deer and hogs, and I'll show you here in just a second. But the way that I built it was basically so I didn't have to do any heavy lifting besides, getting the animal to the rack. And whether you drive up, if the animal died, out in the field or whatever, and you can drive up to it, or you drag it out of the woods, then you can take your truck right to where the animal's laying, and you don't have to do any heavy lifting because this thing has it all taken care of. So the first thing I want to show you guys is this part right here. So as you can see, it comes out of the hitch right here, and I gave myself plenty of clearance, and I did that so I could drop the tailgate and there would still be plenty of room in between there. And the reason I did that was so now that the tailgate's down, I have a table basically, and I can put whatever gut hooks, extra blades, gloves, anything that I want to put on the tailgate while I'm skinning, anything that I use can go right there, and I don't have to worry about sticking it in my pocket or sitting on the ground or whatever. It goes right there, and I basically gave myself a little bit of a table. And along with that, here, let me back up and I'll show you guys. Along with that, you guys can see how it comes out at 45s off to the side, and it sits on the far right side of the tailgate. The reason I did that is so whenever I set this thing up and I'm ready to take the carcass of the animal, like after I've quartered it, taken the guts out of it, done all of that, then what I can do is I can take this thing, and here, let me set this camera up on a tripod and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And basically now what I can do is I can take the pin out. So let me show you this. There's a piece of pipe right here, and this thing slides down on top of it. You guys saw that. And what I did is I drilled a hole here, and it went all the way through. So it went through both sides of the square tubing and both sides of the pipe, and I can stick a pin in this thing, which the pin's laying in the grass over there, and I'm not going to try to find it tonight because it's dark. But what I did was I made this thing to where it would swing and it would swivel. So you guys can see if I had to leave the pin out of it and I have an animal hanging up here, I can, whenever I get done quartering it, skinning it, gutting it, whatever, then I can take this whole thing and I can swing it over the whole carcass into the bed, just like so. And whenever I do that, then it gives me the ability to hit the release on the winch here and pull the hanger down and drop my animal right off into the bed of the truck, just like that. And so now I don't have any heavy lifting. I don't have to mess with a carcass laying on the ground and trying to pick it back up and having two people to help you get it back into the bed. Whatever. It's all, you know, one person can do it. You can swing the rest of the carcass over into the bed, hit your release, you're good to go. I built it to be very mobile, and so after I pull this pin out, then I can take the top half off, lay it in the bed, pull the pin out of the hitch, and I can pull the bottom half out and I can lay it in the bed as well. Another thing that I want to show you guys, and I don't know if y'all can see it very well, but there are holes drilled in the square tubing all the way down. And the reason for doing that is you can see that there's a piece of pipe welded onto this plate right here. And this pipe, of course it's all the way up in there as far as it will go. But what I can do is I can take another pin, and there's one hole drilled in this piece of pipe that is inside the square tubing, and I can stick the pin through the holes. I can line it up, and hey buddy, and sit. You're in the video. Sit down. You're in the way. Sit. Stay. And now what I can do is I can adjust this. So like if I'm on uneven ground or the truck's sitting higher up and on the front side than it is on the back side, then I have the ability to take this plate right here and I can adjust it up and down and set the pin, and that holds most of the weight. What I can do from there is, for extra support, I'll show you guys what I can do from there, and it's already got a bunch of string on it, but if you'll notice right up there, there's a better look at it. There is a big nut welded to the back side of that. And the reason why I did that is because on that nut I can take paracord, any kind of rope, string, or whatever, and I can, whenever this thing is spun around, so like this, but whenever the hanger is out like it's supposed to be, out straight, then I can take some paracord or something, and if I have a really heavy deer or hog, I can take some rope right here and I can tie it back to the back of the truck right up in there where that little hole is. And the purpose for that is when you have a pretty big deer or a heavy animal, that thing will want to flex a little bit, and so I fix that by welding that little nut on the back, and then I can take some cord, rope, whatever, and I can pull the thing back, tie it off, and then winch my animal up, and it doesn't have any flex in it. So that works out really well, and that was something that I added later after using this thing a lot. I think I skinned a couple of deer and some pigs on it, and it was just flexed. I mean, it was just bent over, and I was like, well, I kind of want to fix that, so here's my solution. This is what I'm going to do. And I welded the nut, and then just take paracord, and I can reuse the paracord. I can roll it up and keep it tied off like you guys saw, and then I can tie it to the front of the bed, and it works great. So as for the winch, what I did for the winch is just your basic manual crank. Let me lock it in. Just your basic little winch, and I want to say it's like a 500 or 600 pound winch. And then of course I've got this steel cable in there, which works really well. And from there, you guys can see the design. What I did next is you have to have some sort of pulleys up here, and so what I did is I made that a straight 90 just like this, and then I have that gusset coming across that will support, and I just used bolts to bolt the pulleys to the frame, and it works great. I haven't had any issues with the pulleys. I think the pulleys are rated for about 350, 400 pounds, something like that, so it works great. And then of course you have just a regular old focus. You just have your regular old hook on the end and a basic standard gambrel right there on the end. And that's pretty much it. As far as building goes, it only took about half a day. Me and my dad knocked it out pretty quick. There's not a whole lot of welding. I mean, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, somewhere around 10 joints or so that you have to weld, and it is not bad at all. What I did with this thing right here is it is a round piece of plate, and this actually goes onto pipe for mounting antennas, and there's also several other uses for them, but you can fabricate your own sort of little stopper there for the top half to stop, and you can use anything from like square plate or just regular steel, anything you want to put there to keep the top half from moving around on you and going further down than it's supposed to. And you have to have something in there to kind of divide it off, that way the square tubing isn't hitting another piece of square tubing, and you have to have something to weld the pipe to inside of that. So that's what we came up with, and it spins on there really easily and works great. Most of the material you can get from like a local hardware store or like your local steel supplier, and they'll have the square tubing, and they'll have the winch, they'll have the pulleys, and most hardware stores, especially the ones around here, will have these gambrels like this, and they're usually pretty cheap, somewhere around the $5, $6, $7, sometimes the $8 range. And yeah, this thing's been rocking and rolling and working for me for several years now, and the paint's starting to come off, and I could probably touch up on the welds a little bit and do just a few ins and outs on it to make it look brand new. But all in all, it functions really well. I hope this helps for you guys, because I know that there's been times where I've shot some really big hogs and I could not for the life of me get them into the back of the truck on my own, and so I couldn't leave them in the field, didn't really want to drag them, and so what I did is I just pulled this thing out and stuck it in the hitch, put it together, 2 pieces. I cut the little slits, you know, in their arms, and then stuck the gambrel in there, lifted him up, crank, pulled the pin on the center, spun him around into the bed of the truck, and then left. And it worked out great. So that's another thing that I was going to mention. If you ever find yourself in the situation where you shoot a really big pig or a really big body deer, and you're by yourself and you can't get it in the truck, this thing works great for that. And I'd say the top piece is a little bit heavier than the bottom with the winch and all the cables and pulleys and everything. And I mean, I'd say it probably weighs about 35, 40 pounds maybe. And then the bottom half weighs about 20, 25, if that much. I mean, they're really not bad. I could be on the high side of those guesstimates. But all in all, I mean, it's just, for what it's worth and for how much I spent to build it, it was very cheap and very affordable, and it worked great. So, you know, it keeps you from having to build something permanent. If you don't really have a place to build a permanent skinning rack and you don't really like to gut animals or skin them out or quarter them on the ground, this is a great option. And the 2-inch square tubing, it was probably, I mean, there's like 5 foot there, 5 foot there, about 6, 7 foot there, probably another 10 foot right there. I'd say all in all, after all the screw ups and everything, I think it was about 30 foot of 2-inch square tubing to do the whole thing, and it might have costed me, I don't know, probably about 35, 40 bucks for the tubing. Those pulleys, if I can remember right, they were $4 or $5 a piece, and I've got 2 of them, and then the winch was like 15, 20 bucks. So somewhere around $50, $60, $70, and this thing goes anywhere with me. I mean, I've taken it to Fairfield with me several times, to the deer lease down there, and you know, you shoot deer, you bring them back to camp, you just ratchet them right up in the air. And I've put it in a couple of videos and you guys have seen it, and so I just remembered a bunch of y'all asking about it, and I'm sitting here around the house with nothing else to do, and I just got the itch to film a video, so I just decided that I'd come out here and throw this one together for y'all. And I know it's kind of harder to see in the dark, but I think with the lighting off the house you guys were able to see it alright. But all in all, it worked out great for me, and maybe it'll help you guys too. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'm trying to just think in my mind of all the little tips and tricks and things that I can tell you guys to hopefully help y'all in the field. This is one of those that I thought was a pretty good idea and that would be very useful to y'all. So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, because I know he did. What you doing, bud? Huh? That small dove getter. Remington. Yeah, come here. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. That's, I've had him for about 4 years now. I think he'll turn 4 in April 8th. So he's my little dove retriever. He does a pretty good job. Which reminds me, you guys will be seeing some dove hunting this year because I actually have a place to go and shoot some dove, which I'm very excited about. And hopefully I can get him in shape. He's a little bit overweight, but anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Link down below will be my Instagram at 4B Bow Hunting and Outdoors if you guys want to jump over there and check that out. Other than that, I think that's about all I've got for you. Oh yeah, guys, another thing I wanted to mention is I'm having a ton of trouble with the website right now and all the merchandise, and so stay tuned for that. I'm going to try to get all that mess figured out, and whenever it's back up and ready to go, I will let you guys know, and hopefully whenever it comes back up, I will have the hats as promised, and I'll also have the full line of t-shirts, and in long sleeve and in short sleeve, and supposedly there's a couple other things that I'm going to be able to get my hands on that are going to be awesome for you guys. So I hope that y'all are excited about some of the merch, and thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all of the love and support, and I am signing out with this dude. Hey. You gonna say bye? Say bye. Yeah. Bye. Love each and every one of you guys. Thank you for all the support, and I'll catch you on the next one.